Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. On the show today, India's young cricket sensation Vaibhav Suryavanshi is the talk of the town. But why is this performance against South Africa of great significance? Wait to know more. Nigeria's players threaten to boycott the AFCON qualifier against Algeria. Association steps in to avoid any embarrassment. But what will it take for Nigeria's talent and promise to get the kind of support it truly deserves? And guess the lapses in Africa's administration is not only restricted to football. The Kenyan Tennis Association also has come under fire after an Egyptian wildcard entrance first round match went viral, and for all the wrong reasons. But first, the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket, India's Tilak Varma has been ruled out of the first 3 T20 internationals against New Zealand. The India batter underwent a surgery recently. Team India is hosting the Kiwis for a 5-match series starting this weekend. Tilak Varma was India's second highest run getter in the format last year. His participation for the remaining 2 matches depends on the recovery. Over in football, Cristiano Ronaldo's Al Nassr fell 1-2 to Al Qadisiyah in Saudi Pro League. Despite Ronaldo helping his side with a goal, they failed to capitalize. With this loss, Al Hilal's lead at the top of the table has increased by 4 points. Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain have added another silverware to their cabinet. They have won the French Super Cup via a penalty shootout over Marseille. The match was level at 2-2 in regulation time. It was Gonzalo Ramos' late goal that pushed the match to a shootout. PSG won it 4-1. On to tennis. 2014 Australian Open champion Stan Wawrinka has been handed a wild card for the Grand Slam this year. In fact, 2026 will be the Swiss player's last one on the circuit. Wawrinka has won 3 Grand Slam titles. The only missing one has been Wimbledon. And summing it up with NBA, Utah Jazz and Dallas Mavericks played out a close game. In the end, it was Jazz who emerged victorious by 116 to 114 points. Lauri Markkanen scored 33 points in the game. There's a lot of buzz going around Indian cricketing sensation Vaibhav Suryavanshi. He's had quite an eventful 2025, and it all began with the Indian Premier League, where he jolted every sports lover across the world with his swashbuckling display in IPL. Today, he's in the news again for his heroics in the series against South Africa. Now, why is this important, and why do we need to talk about Vaibhav and this particular performance? Let me tell you. Vaibhav Suryavanshi had a year to remember in 2025. Many other achievements across other sporting disciplines could have pushed his name a bit to the back, but truth is he was the breakthrough kid last year. At just 14, he shook an entire cricketing nation, and the world was beginning to already draw comparisons. Is he the next Sachin Tendulkar India has produced? Not based on technique or manner of batting, but the sheer prodigy he's proven to be. A teenager with fire in his soul and hunger in his eyes, a repeat of what the world witnessed when a debutant Sachin decades ago. The talks and of course his talent too carried him over to national duty in the junior format. The Asia Cup became calling, a big opportunity to win big for India, to stamp his class on the international stage and say IPL was no fluke and this was serious. That he was meant for true greatness, the kind that shines bright both on and off the field. But that's where reality struck Vaibhav and India. Well, he did perform, no doubts there. The batting had flair, the scores were there, but temperament, that still was a fair distance away. It all came to a boil in the final against Pakistan. Tempers flared. India, and that included Vaibhav Suryavanshi, crumbled under pressure. They fell prey to the theatrics and drama of it all rather than staying the course and remaining focused on the game, focused on the objective to win the Asia Cup. The loss was humbling, but more than that, it was the attitude that would have and should have raised serious concerns. Is Vaibhav there just yet? Maybe not. That flair also needed some control. There was a BCCI review meeting right after that Asia Cup, and Vaibhav was sent in as captain for the series against South Africa that came right after. It's a daunting bilateral for any country. junior or senior. And Vaibhav not only let his bat do all the talking, he led from the front and demolished South Africa, not only being the top run getter in the series, but also handing them out a 3-0 whitewash.
What's all this, brother? Is this sample enough, or are you going to raise the bar further? You can't explain in words what this kid is doing at 14.
Yes, that's the kind of U-turn you'd have wanted as a cricket-loving country, and that's what Vaibhav Suryavanshi did. Put his head down and just delivered. This series could be that turning point for Vaibhav in his career, in a journey that is bound to attain starry heights. Now, he's seen what happens when you just put your head down and get to it. What happens when you ignore the frills, the drama, the taunts and jibes that are meant to be only on the sidelines. Any young cricketer has only one task at hand. Keep punching and with your skills, because the goal is higher and there's a long way to go. And true leadership doesn't only come with getting those runs or taking the wickets. It comes in honing the mental aspect of any game that you're invested in, staying grounded, listening more than reacting and talking, learning from losses more than the wins. That's what acts as building blocks for the years to come. The clamour for blooding him young and getting him into that senior setup is only growing. Yes, and it will grow with each knock that he puts in. But the BCCI has realised the temperament needs to come with that talent. Giving him captaincy was a step towards that, because only with great power can truly come great responsibility. New tournament, same country, same chaos. For Nigerian football, every big competition seems to come with a familiar headline. Players threatening to stop training, to boycott matches, all because of unpaid dues. And once again, at AFCON, Nigeria finds itself battling its own system instead of its opponents. So when talent, history and legacy are all on your side, why isn't the system? A bruising 2025 meant Nigeria arrived at AFCON carrying multiple scars. They failed to qualify for the World Cup, a tournament they once considered routine up until 2018. A failure that shook Nigerian football to its core. So AFCON is supposed to be that reset, the stage to restore that sense of pride. And on the pitch, things actually went well so far. Nigeria have remained unbeaten. They dismantled Mozambique 4-0 in the round of 16. Confidence was building. Next up, a quarterfinal against Algeria, one of Africa's most stable, structured and disciplined footballing nations. In moments like these, teams lock in, but Nigeria doesn't get that luxury because just days before the quarterfinal, the real opponent showed up: administrative chaos. Footballers were miffed over the unpaid bonuses for AFCON, and just like clockwork, the players responded the only way they've ever been heard, by threatening to suspend training and boycott that trip to Marrakesh. Once again, football took a backseat to survival, and it was only on the eve of the match against Algeria that the chaos was resolved.
The players were shown documents proving their AFCON 2025 bonus payments have been processed, and they trained today, so there is no problem.
Seems like words of consolation, but that statement tells you everything you need to know about Nigerian football governance. That it is but a pattern. This is not the first time Nigerian players have been pushed to the brink here. During World Cup qualifiers last year, the same script played out. 2 days before a crucial match against Gabon in November, Super Eagles player boycotted training. While other teams were analysing opponents, Nigeria was negotiating their livelihood. The result? Nigeria missed the World Cup. And remember, this wasn't just any World Cup. The 2026 edition has expanded, 16 extra teams this time, more slots for Africa. If Nigeria still couldn't make it, it isn't a reflection of the talent or the lack of it, but highlights the chaos that exists in the federation itself. And the payment issue didn't start yesterday. Reports suggest dues had been pending since 2019. That's years of patience, years of being silent, and lack of professionalism. Clearly, the only option left for players was to protest. In Nigerian football, authorities don't respond to responsibility, they respond to embarrassment. They don't act until results are threatened. They don't listen until tournaments are on the line. And this rot isn't just restricted to the men's team. Nigeria's women's team, the most successful side in African football history, has endured the same neglect, late payments, unpaid bonuses, this despite dominating the continent and winning 11 women's AFCON titles. No surprise that when they were finally awarded apartments as recognition following their 2024 AFCON run, the celebration said more than the gesture or any soundbite ever could.
Today you return home as champions of Africa. I hereby direct the allocation of 3-bedroom apartments
Those pictures speaking volumes of not how much the system has given, but how low expectations had fallen. But this is not a small footballing nation. This is African royalty. They are the only African nation to reach the 5th rank. That happened in 1994. Across categories, they have won the most titles, which is 58, and a feat that hasn't been recreated. A men's football gold that they won back in 1996. The women aren't far behind either. 11 AFCON titles, like I mentioned before. And over in the junior category, they have the most successful under-17 side in the world with 5 titles. Right now, Nigeria isn't fighting to reclaim past glory. It's fighting its own governance. And while Africa rises, with Morocco surging, Senegal stabilizing, Egypt modernizing, and teams like DR Congo and Ivory Coast stepping up, Nigeria is stuck negotiating bonuses before a knockout game. The tragedy of Nigerian football is not wasted talent, it's wasted potential, because when players have to threaten boycotts just to be paid instead of preparing to win, and when governance only reacts under pressure, success becomes accidental, not sustainable. AFCON may still offer hope this year, but unless the system changes, Nigeria will only keep reliving the same story. A giant of African football trapped in its own administrative flaws. And in a new Africa that is moving forward, or at least striving to, history alone will not be enough to create a path of success. We've all seen tennis tournaments go viral before, usually for brilliance, for breathtaking rallies, for the birth of a superstar. But what if I told you that right now one of the most talked about tennis matches in the world didn't go viral for skill, but because of shockingly poor tennis? A player who looked like she had never played the sport professionally before was given a wild card by organizers of a tennis tournament in Nairobi. And now Kenya's Tennis Federation is under fire, accused of damaging the credibility of women's tennis. So what exactly happened, and how did a junior level tournament turn into an episode of global embarrassment? Our report breaks it down.
The junior and lower professional circuits are the backbone of world sport. This is where careers are built, where raw talent is polished, where tomorrow's superstars announce themselves. Carlos Alcaraz, Arina Sabalenka, Mbappe, Verstappen to Shubman Gill. Greatness always begins at the grassroots. And that's why these tournaments matter. They are meant to be competitive. But a tournament in Nairobi, Kenya, has done the exact opposite. Kenya hosted a W35 event, part of the ITF Women's World Tennis Tour. This isn't elite WTA level, but it is part of the professional circuit, a stepping stone for players ranked outside the top 300. And this is where the controversy erupted. The organizers granted a wild card entry to an Egyptian player, Hajar Abdelkader. Her opponent? World number 1026, Lorena Shadle. On paper, this could be rather one-sided, but definitely not without a contest. What followed instead was utterly shocking. The match lasted just 37 minutes. Abdelkader lost in straight sets. She won just 3 points. Those points didn't come from winners or aces or a brilliant rally. It came from her opponent's errors. But this wasn't about the scoreline. It wasn't even about losing badly. It was about how she played. 20 double faults, no proper serves, no footwork. And here's the best part: no knowledge of how the game is played. She didn't know where to serve or receive from. Most times, the charade looked less like a professional tennis match and more like a beginner struggling in their first coaching session. Social media exploded. The spotlight turned harsh. and Kenya's organizers had no choice but to respond. But that wasn't the end of it, because what came next made the situation even more bizarre. The Egyptian Tennis Federation stepped in and publicly distanced themselves from the player. Basically washing their hands off the matter. That statement raised an even bigger red flag, because if Egypt didn't recommend her, then who did? Kenya later clarified that this was a last-minute replacement after another player pulled out. But that explanation only deepened the concern. Why wasn't a verified professional chosen? The National Federation consulted? And above all, why was due diligence ignored? This wasn't just a bad call, it was negligence, putting the credibility of the entire circuit in jeopardy. This incident isn't about mocking a player, it's about accountability, because grassroots tournaments are sacred spaces in sport. If the organizers make such lapses, how will it become a platform for future stars?
Time for last serve. Israel's participation in sporting events continues to face backlash. Before the EuroLeague match between Real Madrid and Maccabi Tel Aviv, hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters demanded Israel's ban. The match was eventually played behind closed doors due to this. Take a look.
Maccabi! ¡Viva Maccabi! ¡Grande el movimiento sionista! ¡Grande el movimiento sionista!
That wraps it up here on First Sports. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on the other side of it.
The world doesn't fit in boxes, so why should your news? From battlefields to negotiation tables, from internet outrage to real-world injustice. The conversations everyone is having and the ones they're avoiding. It's the same show, but this new year, Firstpost America gets a new look. I'm Kerry Johnston, and this is Firstpost America.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.